The patrol ship Aurora drifted slowly above the ruined colony world. Its hull was dark gray, scarred from old battles, but still proud with the symbol of Earth painted on the side. Inside the ship, the crew sat silent as the scanners showed nothing. But destruction below, burned fields, crushed homes, empty streets. The planet was dead. Captain Harris leaned over the command console, his voice low and heavy. Scan again. Survivors? The officer shook his head. Only wreckage, Captain. Energy signatures are weak. Almost nothing alive. For a moment, the ship felt colder, as if space itself had pressed against the crew's hearts. They had seen ruins before. The galaxy was not kind. But something about this world felt different. The ship descended lower. Dust swirled as their engines burned the ground. The landing ramp opened, and soldiers stepped into the silence. The wind carried the smell of smoke and ashes. No voices, no footsteps, no signs of life. Then dash movement. Private Lewis raised his weapon. There, among the ruins, from behind a broken wall, a figure crawled out. Thin arms, shaking legs, a child. Her skin was pale blue, her eyes wide and glowing faintly like stars. She staggered forward, almost falling. In her arms, she carried something wrapped in torn cloth. The soldiers froze. She was not human. She was alien. Small horns curved from her head, and her clothes were nothing more than rags covered in dust. Her lips trembled as she tried to speak. At first, no sound came. Then, in a whisper broken by weakness, the words reached them. Please, milk for my sister. The humans lowered their weapons, shocked. The girl took one more step, then fell to her knees. The cloth bundle in her arms shifted, and a smaller face appeared. A baby, even thinner, its skin gray from hunger. The older girl clutched the baby tight, lifting her face again to the soldiers. Tears ran down her cheeks as she whispered again, just milk. For her, I'll pay you back when I'm grown. The words cut deeper than any blade. Private Lewis lowered his rifle completely. His voice cracked. Captain, she's begging for food. Not for herself, for the baby. The silence was heavy. The humans stared at her, unable to speak. This alien child, standing in the ruins of her home, was not asking for rescue, not for safety, not for revenge. Only for milk for the tiny life. In her arms, Captain Harris stepped forward. He knelt down so his eyes were level with hers. Child, what happened here? Where are your people? The girl shook her head weakly. Gone, all gone, taken, burned, only us, only my sister. Her body trembled, but she refused to let go of the baby. She held on as if the little one was the only thing left in the universe. Harris looked back at his crew. Some turned their eyes away. Others clenched their fists. All of them felt it, the anger, the pity, the shame that such cruelty existed. He placed his hand gently on her shoulder. We will help you. Your sister will drink milk, I promise. The girl's lips trembled into the smallest smile, but then her body gave out. She collapsed forward, still holding the baby tight. Two soldiers rushed in, carefully lifting both into their arms. Medical bay, Harris ordered. Now! The soldiers carried the alien children back into the ship. The ramp closed, hiding the ruined world outside. Inside the Aurora, alarms beeped softly. Scanners still showed wreckage, but no other survivors. Only silence. Yet in that silence, something powerful had been born. In the medical bay, doctors placed the baby on a small bed, connecting tubes, checking heartbeat. The older girl was weak, barely breathing, but her hand never left her sister's cloth. Even in sleep, she whispered, milk, please. The human crew stood around watching. For all their training, for all the wars they had fought, None of them could remember a moment that struck their hearts so hard. Private Lewis muttered, almost to himself. She doesn't want to live for herself. She wants her sister to live. That's real courage. Another soldier replied quietly, that's what family means. That's what we fight for. The captain stood at the doorway, silent. His eyes were fixed on the child, on the way she held her sister even in unconsciousness. He felt the weight of her words echoing in his mind, not just milk for my sister. I'll pay you back when I'm grown. A simple plea. Yet it carried more strength than the mightiest empire. And though the captain did not know it yet, those words would change the future of the galaxy. For now, the Aurora lifted off the ground, carrying 2 starving sisters and a promise humanity could never ignore. Above the ruined planet, stars shone cold and distant. But inside the ship, hope had sparked, hope born from the quiet, trembling voice of a girl who had nothing left, yet still thought first of another. And the crew of the Aurora knew this was not the end. This was only the beginning. The alien girl and her baby sister lay in the medical bay of the Aurora. Machines hummed softly, keeping the room warm and filled with clean air. A bottle of nutrient milk rested against the baby's lips, and for the first time since the soldiers had seen her, the infant drank with weak but steady gulps. The older girl slept, her face pale, her arms still wrapped protectively around the cloth she had carried. Even in her dreams, her body twitched as if she feared someone would take her sister away. The humans stood in silence. No one spoke for a long time. The sound of the baby drinking was the only reminder that life still existed among the ruins. They had seen. Finally, Captain Harris broke the silence. Report. What do the scans tell us? Lieutenant Chun lifted his tablet. His voice was steady, but his eyes betrayed unease. Captain, we found burned homes, destroyed farms, and a few wrecked ships. The attackers left nothing behind. No survivors. No bodies either, only ash. The room grew colder. Sergeant Blake clenched his jaw. Ash means firebombs. Slavers do this, Captain. Burn the weak, take the strong. Everyone knew the name he refused to say. The Zereth Empire. The captain's fists tightened at his sides. So we're looking at a raid. A clean sweep. They wanted workers, not corpses. Private Lewis looked down at the alien girl, then at the baby. His voice cracked. Sir, what about them? Why leave 2 children behind? The captain studied the girl's face. Small horns curved from her head. Her skin glowed faintly in the medical light. She looked no older than 12, yet her eyes, when they had opened, had carried the weight of someone who had seen too much. They weren't left behind. Harris said slowly. They escaped. The crew exchanged uneasy looks. Dr. Ramirez adjusted the baby's feeding tube. His voice was softer than usual. Captain, she asked only for milk. Not rescue, not weapons, not vengeance. Just milk for her sister. If that doesn't move us, then maybe we've lost what makes us human. Harris didn't answer right away. He turned toward the window. Outside, the planet's scarred surface stretched beneath the stars. Smoke still rose from burning craters. Thought about orders. About duty. About how many times humanity had been warned not to interfere in border wars that weren't their own. The Council of Worlds didn't want humans involved. They wanted them to observe, record, and move on. But the captain's heart refused. Private. Lewis stepped forward suddenly, his voice desperate. Captain, with respect, if we leave them here, they'll die. That girl begged us. She trusted us. We can't throw her away like the others did. Sergeant Blake frowned. And what then? Private, you want to start a war with the Zereth? We don't have the fleet for that. Lewis's fists shook. War or not, humanity doesn't walk away from starving children. The words hit the room like thunder got silence again. Every soldier remembered Earth's history, wars, famines, plagues. Humanity had suffered. Humanity had begged once too. And because they survived those days, they could not ignore the pain in front of them now. The baby gave a soft cry. The alien girl stirred, her eyes half opening. She saw the humans watching her and whispered, voice broken and fragile, "Don't take her away. Please, I'll repay you. When I grow." The crew froze. The same words again. The same promise. Captain Harris walked closer. He knelt beside her bed. "No one will take her from you. She's safe. You're both safe now." A tear slid from her glowing eyes. She held her sister tighter and slipped back into unconsciousness. The captain rose to his full height. His voice was steady now, filled with iron. "Doctor, keep them stable. Feed them. Care for them. Lieutenant Shun, prepare a report. The council will want to know, but I'll decide what to tell them. Sergeant Blake, double our patrol perimeter. If the Zereth are still near, we'll be ready." The soldiers saluted, but as they turned to their duties, unease still lingered, because everyone knew the truth. Saving 2 children was not the end of this story. The Zereth Empire would not ignore witnesses. If they learned humans had interfered, blood would follow. The captain stood in the corridor alone for a long moment. He whispered to himself, so softly no one else could hear, "Just milk for her sister? And she promises to repay us. What kind of galaxy do we live in, where a child has to beg like that?" He clenched his fists. "Not one I'll stand by and watch." In the distance, alarms chirped softly. The scanners had detected faint energy signature ships moving through the system. The crew didn't know it yet, but the enemy was already coming back, and the plea of one starving alien girl had just dragged humanity into something far bigger than any of them could imagine. Asterisk. The Aurora sailed silently through the dark sky above the ruined colony. Its engines glowed faintly, a lonely light against the endless black. Inside the ship, no one slept. The memory of the alien girl's whisper still echoed in every corner. "Just milk for my sister? I'll pay you back when I'm grown." Her words had burned into their hearts, but the galaxy was not kind. In the command room, Lieutenant Chun stared at the scanner. A faint red signal pulsed on the screen. "Captain," he said carefully, "I've picked up something. Not debris. Moving." Captain Harris walked over. His eyes narrowed. "Ship?" Chun nodded. "Small craft, maybe a fighter. Energy trail shows recent movement. Could be scouting us." Sergeant Blake cursed under his breath. "The Zereth. They're checking. If anyone survived." The captain's jaw tightened. "They won't like what they find." Meanwhile, in the medical bay, the alien girl had awakened again. Her sister slept in her arms, breathing more peacefully now after drinking milk. The girl's eyes opened, slowly, glowing faint blue under the soft lights. She looked around, confused, until her gaze settled on Private Lewis, who sat nearby, keeping watch. Her voice was still weak, but steady. "You are human?" Lewis nodded gently. "Yes, we're humans. We found you." She looked at her sister, then back at him. "You gave her milk?" "Yes," he said softly. "She's safe now." The girl's lips trembled, and for a moment she looked as though she might cry again. But instead, she forced herself to sit straighter, her thin shoulders stiff with determination. "They will come back," she whispered. Lewis frowned. "Who?" "The ones who burned my home. The Zereth." Her eyes darkened. "They don't stop. They don't forgive. If they know you helped us, they will come for you too." Lewis leaned forward. "Why? Why destroy your world? What did your people do to them?" The girl's gaze dropped. Her hand stroked her baby sister's face gently. We refused them. They wanted us to join their empire, to serve as workers. My people said no. So they burned everything, took everyone, left. You say, her voice broke. She pressed her forehead against her sister's. I ran. I hid. I only had time to save her. Louis felt his chest tighten. A child forced to carry the weight of survival. A child left to guard an infant in a world of fire. You're safe now, he said firmly. We won't let them touch you again. The girl looked at him, studying his face. Her eyes glowed brighter. You say that, but they are stronger than you. Louis gave a small smile, but there was no humor in it. Maybe, but humans don't walk away. We fight, even when the odds say we shouldn't. The captain entered then, his voice sharp. Private, report. Louis stood quickly. Sir, she says the Zereth will come back. The captain's eyes locked on the girl. Is that true? She nodded slowly. Yes, they always return. They will hunt you for helping us. Harris leaned forward, his voice calm but firm. Then we'll be ready. Back in the command room, alarms suddenly beeped louder. Lieutenant. Chun's voice was tense. Multiple energy signatures detected. 4 ships entering orbit. Fast, armed. Blake slammed his fist on the console. Damn it. Scouts weren't alone. The fleet's here. The captain straightened. Battle stations. Shields up. The ship's lights shifted to red. Soldiers rushed to their posts. Weapons powered online. The hum of engines deepened as the Aurora prepared to fight. But they all knew the truth. 4 enemy warships against 1 patrol vessel was suicide. Harris's voice was steady. We don't run. Not while those children are aboard. The crew answered as one. Aye, Captain. In the medical bay, the alien girl held her sister tight as the ship shook from the first impact. Explosions rumbled through the hull. Lights flickered. She whispered to her baby, Don't be afraid. Humans. They are different. They will not leave us. Private Louis strapped himself in beside her. His weapon rested across his lap, though he knew it would be useless against a fleet outside. He gave her a nod. Stay strong. We'll make it. Her glowing eyes stared at him for a long moment. Then she whispered something he didn't expect. I am grown. I will fight with you. The words struck him harder than the enemy's weapons. A child, half-starved, still thought of promises and battles. And in that moment, Louis believed her. Outside, the enemy ships closed in, their black hulls marked with cruel red symbols. The shadows of the Zereth stretched across the stars, and their weapons glowed, hungry for blood. The captain's voice thundered across the ship. Hold the line. Humanity does not bow. Not today. The Aurora turned into the fire, ready to face the shadows of the enemy. And somewhere deep inside the ship, 2 alien sisters clung to life unknowingly, carrying the future of an alliance that would one day change the galaxy. Asterisk, the Aurora shook violently as enemy fire struck its shields. Red warning lights blinked across the bridge. Metal groaned like a wounded beast. Lieutenant Chun called out over the alarms. Shields down to 60%. One more hit like that, and we'll lose the port side. Return fire. Captain. Harris barked. The ship's cannons roared, bright streams of energy lancing through the dark. 1 Zereth scout ship exploded, scattering burning debris across orbit. The crew cheered, but only for a second. 3 enemy ships remained, circling like predators. Sergeant Blake growled, gripping his console. We can't win a slugfight. Captain, they'll bleed us dry. The captain's eyes narrowed. Then we don't fight their way. Down in the medical bay, the alien girl clung to her sister as the walls trembled. The baby whimpered, frightened by the noise. Private Louis crouched beside them, his voice steady. "Don't worry. The captain's the best we've got. He'll keep us alive." The girl looked at him with glowing, serious eyes. "Why? Why risk your lives for us? You don't even know our names." Lewis paused. The truth hit him harder than any explosion. They didn't even know who these children were. Yet here they were, ready to die for them. He gave a quiet smile. "Because humans don't measure worth by names. We measure it by need. And right now, you need us." The girl stared at him, stunned. Her thin fingers tightened around her sister. She whispered something softly, almost like a vow. "When I am grown, I will never forget. I will fight with you. I promise." Lewis felt a chill run down his spine. Her words weren't weak. They carried weight, like destiny itself had spoken. Back on the bridge, the Aurora was running out of time. Another enemy blast rocked the ship. Sparks showered across the crew. Shields at 30%. Chun shouted. The captain made his choice. "Sergeant Blake, prepare the ion cannon." Blake's eyes widened. "Sir, that'll drain the core. We'll be stranded." Harris's voice was steel. "Better stranded and alive than dead." The ion cannon charged. Blue light filled the chamber as energy built up. The crew held their breath. Fire! A massive surge of energy blasted from the Aurora. One of the Zereth ships was caught full in the blast. Its systems overloaded, and it spun out of control. Before exploding in a blinding flash. Direct hit. Chun cried. The crew cheered again. But the celebration was cut short as the lights flickered and engines sputtered. "Core is drained." "Engines offline," Blake reported grimly. "We're dead in space." The captain gripped the console. 2 Zereth warships still remained, circling like vultures. And now the Aurora was a crippled target dot in the silence that followed. The alien girl's voice suddenly came through the comm system. The medical bay mic had picked her up. "You fight when you cannot win. You stand when you should fall." The bridge froze. Her voice was weak, but it carried like thunder. "I don't understand you, but I believe you. I promise when I grow, I will fight beside you." The crew looked at each other. For a moment, the fear eased. They felt something stronger hope. Even the captain closed his eyes briefly, hearing her words. Then he spoke, voice firm. "Then let's make sure she lives long enough to keep that promise." The enemy ships closed in, weapons glowing. The Aurora had nothing left but grit and courage. The captain gave his last order. "All crew, prepare for boarding. If they want us, they'll have to take us face to face, and they'll learn what it means to fight humans." The crew strapped in, weapons ready. Private Lewis gripped his rifle tighter. He glanced back at the alien girl holding. Her baby dot she was whispering to herself, eyes shining with determination. "Remember. Remember this day." The Aurora floated in silence, shields flickering, engines dead, waiting for the enemy to strike. And in that moment, surrounded by fire and death, the humans knew one truth. They were not just fighting for survival. They were fighting for something greater, an unspoken bond between two species, sealed by a child's promise. Asterisk. The enemy warships stopped firing. The Aurora drifted in silence, its hull scorched, its engines dead. Why aren't they finishing us? Lieutenant Chun whispered. Sergeant Blake's jaw tightened. Because they want to board. They want prisoners. They. Captain's voice was cold steel. Then we'll show them what prisoners cost when they're human. In the medical bay, Private Lewis checked his rifle one last time. He turned to the alien girl and her baby sister. "You stay hidden. No matter what happens, don't come out until I come back. Understand?" The girl's glowing eyes locked on his. For the first time, she looked afraid not for herself, but for him. "You might not return." Lewis gave her a small, crooked smile. Then you remember me. And one day you fight in my place. She swallowed hard, hugging her sister tighter. I promise. The enemy ships clamped onto the Aurora with a metallic screech. The sound echoed through the corridors. Then, silence broken only by the hiss of melting doors. Positions. Blake barked. Soldiers took cover behind crates, weapons aimed at the hatch. The metal door glowed red, then burst open. Smoke poured into the corridor, and shadowy figures stepped through. The XERETH armored, insect-like warriors, their mandibles clicking in hunger. Red symbols glowed across their armor. They carried plasma blades and rifles that hissed with deadly power. Blake spat. Here they come. The first Zereth lunged forward. A storm of gunfire met it. Sparks flew, armor cracked, and the alien collapsed with a shriek. Hold the line. Harris roared. The corridor became fire and chaos. Humans fought tooth and nail, their rifles spitting fury. Zereth warriors shrieked, slashing with blades, hurling grenades that shook the walls. Lewis's unit fell back step by step, blood marking the floor. A young private beside him took a hit and crumpled. Lewis grabbed his rifle, firing back with one hand, dragging the man to cover with the other. Bullets ran dry. Lewis pulled his knife. The next Zereth lunged, and Lewis slammed the blade into high. Its throat, wrenching it free as black ichor sprayed across his armor. He staggered, chest heaving, but stood firm. Is that all you've got? He shouted. The humans roared back, their voices raw and defiant in the medical bay. The alien girl heard every sound. Gunfire, screams, the ship shaking with explosions. She pressed her forehead against her baby sisters. They fight for us, she whispered. For us. Her small hands trembled, but her voice grew steadier. I will not forget. I will not forget. On the bridge, the captain fought like a man possessed. His pistol barked, dropping Zereth after Zereth. But more poured in. Sean slammed. His console. Captain, if they reach engineering, it's over. Harris growled. Then we hold them here. But even as he said it, he knew the truth. They were being overrun. Then something unexpected happened. From the smoke of the corridor, a Zereth commander stepped forward. Taller than the others, armor marked with jagged crimson, its eyes burned. With cruel intelligence, hissed in broken human tone. Give us the children. Live. Every human froze for a heartbeat. The captain stepped forward, blood on his face, pistol steady. His voice was ice. Over our dead bodies. The Zereth commander tilted its head, mandibles clicking in amusement. That can be arranged. It raised its blade. Before it could strike, a gunshot rang out. The commander jerked back as a bullet tore through its chest. All eyes turned. Private Lewis stood there, smoke rising from his rifle, face hard as stone. You want them? He growled. You'll have to get through me. The humans roared again, their fury renewed. They surged forward, driving the Zereth back step by bloody step. The corridor burned with gunfire, blades, and screams. Blood and fire mixed in the air. And still the humans fought, not because they could win, but because surrender was not in. Their nature in the medical bay. The alien girl clutched her sister as the ship shook violently again. She closed her glowing eyes, whispering through the chaos. Humans, fight with fire. I will remember. I will grow. I will fight too. And in that vow, the seed of something greater than survival was planted. Something that would one day shake the galaxy. The Aurora was burning. Fires spread through its corridors, smoke rising like ghosts. The ship groaned as if it knew its end. Was near, but still the humans fought. Sergeant Blake swung his rifle like a club, smashing it against a Zereth skull. Lieutenant Chun, bleeding from the head, fired his last magazine until the gun clicked empty. Private Lewis stood at the front, knife in one hand, rifle in the other, his eyes blazing. And behind them, Captain Harris never faltered. Stand firm. He roared, voice echoing through the ship. Every second we hold is another second those children live. The Zereth pressed harder, wave after wave. The commander hissed in fury, raising its blade high. Humans, stubborn vermin, you will die screaming. But Harris only smiled through blood. Maybe, but you'll never have them. In the medical bay, the alien girl could no longer sit still. The walls shook with every blast, and the cries of men dying for her reached her ears. She pressed her baby sister close and whispered, "They bleed, they fall, all for us. I cannot just hide." She looked around the small room. Her eyes fell on a comm panel. Slowly, with trembling hands, she pressed the button. Her voice filled. The ship again, soft but steady. Humans, listen. I don't know your ways, but I know this. You fight for me and my sister, though you don't even know my name. I cannot fight yet, but I swear, when I grow, I will be your ally. I will be your blade. This promise will not be broken. The crew froze as her words spread across the comms. Even the dying smiled. Even those with no strength left found it again. Private. Lewis felt something hot in his chest, not pain, but pride. He bellowed into the smoke. You hear that, Captain? That's the future talking. The humans roared, louder than the enemy. On the bridge, alarms blared. Chun gasped, Captain! Reactors unstable. She's going critical. Blake's eyes widened. Sir, if we overload it. Harris didn't need the rest explained. A reactor overload would turn the Aurora into a bomb. Enough to wipe out the boarding Zereth ships. His jaw clenched. Do it. Chun hesitated. Sir, if we detonate, there's no escape. No survivors. Harris's voice was steady, calm, even as blood dripped from his chin. Sometimes survival isn't the mission. Sometimes the mission is making sure they survive. His gaze turned toward the med bay, toward the sisters. Get them to the pods, now. Lewis sprinted through the smoke-filled corridors, lungs burning, heart pounding. He burst into the med bay, coughing. Come on, both of you this way. The alien girl stared up at him, fear and determination burning in her glowing eyes. But what about you? Lewis forced a smile. Don't worry about me. Just keep that promise. She clutched her sister tight and followed. The baby cried softly. Unaware of the sacrifice being made for her dot, they reached the escape pod bay. Soldiers fell back one by one, covering them, buying time with their lives. Blake stood by the pod, face grim. Get them in, Lewis. You're the escort. Lewis shook his head. Not happening. You're faster. You go, Blake growled. Don't argue. Before Lewis could reply, Blake shoved him into the pod with the girls and slammed the hatch. His last words came through the glass. Raise hell for me, soldier. Then he was gone, back into the fire. The pod launched with a roar, shooting into the black. Through the small window, the alien girl saw the Aurora, burning and broken, surrounded. By Zereth ship's dot inside, Captain Harris stood at the reactor core. His hand hovered over the final command. He whispered to himself, for Earth, for them. Then he pressed it. The stars lit with fire. The Aurora exploded in a blinding blaze, the shockwave ripping through space. The Zereth ships caught in the blast, shattered like glass, torn apart by the fury of one dying human vessel. The pod shook violently, then drifted into silence. The alien girl stared at the light fading behind them, tears streaming down her face. She pressed her sister close, her voice trembling but strong. They gave their lives for us. I will remember. I will fight. I swear it." Lewis, sitting across from her, his armor scorched, nodded quietly. His eyes glistened, but his voice was firm. "And humanity will stand with you when that day comes." The pod floated into the void, carrying 2 alien sisters and 1 human soldier. Behind them, the wreckage of the Aurora drifted silent but eternal. And though the crew had fallen, their sacrifice had planted something far greater than death. A bond, a promise, a fire that would burn across the galaxy. Asterisk.